Okay, so if you even know what this is, congratulations, you are officially a car person. But if not, look, we totally understand, because if someone was talking about Blade Master G, you may assume that they're talking about some obscure 90s hip-hop artist, but no, this is a Blade Master G, and it's ostensibly a V6 Toyota Corolla. And as appealing as that may sound, should you seriously consider buying one? Let's find out. Now, calling it a V6 Corolla, or if you're watching this from Europe, a V6 Urus, is actually doing it a massive disservice, because there is so much more to the Blade Master G than just that. For example, it features different front and rear sheet metal, different front and rear headlights, independent rear suspension, bigger brakes, better interior materials, and a load of different equipment and tech. So not only is it the most powerful of like the Corolla kind of hatch thing of this generation, it's also the most luxurious. But the real attraction is that engine. The 3.5 litre 2GR FE is surely one of Toyota's most renowned engines, used to power everything from the Toyota Orion and the Camry to the Lexus RX 350 to even the Lotus Evora. And here's a fun fact, the Blade Master is the smallest and lightest car Toyota has put this into. Also, only front-wheel drive 3.5 litre Blade Masters are eligible to be imported into Australia, but internationally, all-wheel drive variants are out there, as well as 2.4 litre 4-cylinder Blade models. But in typical quirky Japanese fashion, there are sub-models within the range. Firstly, there are two series of Blade Master, imaginatively called the Series 1, available from 2007 to 2009, and the Series 2 from 2010 to 2012. Plus, there are two trim specs, the standard Blade Master and the model that sounds like a 90s hip-hop icon, the Blade Master G. Now, obviously, there's so much more to the Blade Master G than just that, and if you do need all the tiny specific details, or you're after like the ultimate used Blade Master and Blade Master G buyer's guide, jump on ReDriven.com and check out that completely free and awesome cheat sheet. Now, I should mention, this particular Blade Master G isn't exactly standard. It is on gorgeous 19-inch work rims. It's got TRD suspension in it. Funnily enough, a lot of people seem to think that TRD stands for Toyota Racing Development. It doesn't. It actually means the real deal, and that just inspires more confidence when it comes to driving. It also has this aftermarket front aero lip thing. I'm not normally a fan of aftermarket aero parts, but this looks bloody awesome. It removes it more from looking like a standard Corolla, and that's not a bad thing. Now inside, basically imagine what it would feel like to be sitting inside like a really well modified Corolla. I say that because there's like leather effect everywhere, which you don't get in a normal Corolla. But design wise, look, it is still of its age, and you can tell it is aging a little bit. Like there's some of these plastic effects that's kind of, let's say, interesting, and the silver paint, but it's okay for what, you know, the generation of car that this is. It's kind of quirky and fun. But with like the materials used, yes, it's aging, but at least they're consistent. Like the silver here matches the silver here, and this kind of swoopy effect matches kind of the swoopy effect here. Even the leather is consistent right across the board. But there are a couple of ergonomic issues. Firstly, I'm finding that my knee is resting up against basically where the two pieces of plastic meet here, so that gets a bit frustrating on your knee. If I was shorter, that probably wouldn't be an issue. And seating-wise, the seats they're comfortable enough, but again, you sit too high. I find that this generation Corolla were really guilty for this. You might be able to get like a lowering seat kit of some sort. The legalities on that will depend on where you're living, where the car is. But yeah, I just feel like I wish I was sitting a bit lower. Maybe that's just me. Now, wear and tear wise in this particular car, this is this owner's everyday driver. Fantastic. Like the leather, it's getting on the firm side, but that can be restored, and you know, for the age of the car, that is to be expected. But the leather everywhere else feels really soft. Steering wheel wise, obviously it's getting a little bit glossy. Again, it can probably be restored back to its best. But like all the plastic bits, it's not really scratching up too badly. Wear and tear, considering how much work this car gets, wear and tear up the front, excellent. Now, practicality wise up front, heaps. You've got an upstairs glove box and a downstairs glove box. You've got cup holder here, another cup holder here, another cup holder here, and also another cup holder here, which I see is specifically designed for small pretentious coffees like piccolos, macchiatos, espressos, the pretentious coffees that wankers like I enjoy. Well done, Toyota. You've got a slidey armrest here, which has a little tray here and another cubby hole there. Good sized door bins. They're not really deep enough to hold like a big bottle of water, but they do the job. And I think that's it for practicality up front. Oh, hang on. Spot for, wow, sunglasses. And what does this owner wear? He wears Italian designs. Well done, Shannon. Now in the back seat, I'm exactly the same height as another cool sounding icon that happens to be a 90s hip hop legend, Jay-Z. This is in my driving position, and you know what? It feels like sitting in the back of a Corolla. It's not overly spacious, but it's certainly not cramped by any means. My knees are just touching the backs of the seats. Okay amount of footroom. Seats are actually pretty comfortable, which is good. But yeah, it feels like the back of a Corolla. And wear and tear in the back of this particular car, I don't know if anyone's ever sat back here, because it feels like a new car. The leather is really soft. There's no signs of any marks or scratches. I might be the first person to ever sit in the back. In practicality, in the second row, you've got a couple of matte pockets here. Okay sized door bins are pretty small, and an armrest with 2 cup holders, and that is it. In practicality in the boot, well, that's a kind of a Corolla hatch, and it feels like it. It's fine. Plus, the seats fold kind of sort of flat. Like, hang on. There's no lip here, but there's a bit of a ramp. But yeah, flat enough. With that down, there's a heap of space. Now, as far as tech and features go, look, it's basically what you'd expect from like a really fancy Toyota Corolla of this era. So you're going to get a pretty average stereo, you're going to get cruise control, air conditioning, and all of this. Plus the Series 2Gs, they get USB connectivity and Toyota's Sport Direct Shift, which is basically like an updated software pack for the transmission, but we'll get to that when we drive it. Now, a quick heads up when it comes to the infotainment systems. Obviously, being a Japanese import, these infotainment systems are predominantly going to be in Japanese. If you can read and understand Japanese, great. If not, you're probably going to have to upgrade the head unit. The good news is, if you do that, you can then upgrade to like Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. If you do upgrade, but also maybe upgrade the speakers as well, because they're not fantastic. Now, as far as safety goes, look, guys, we're talking about basically a Toyota Corolla from the noughties, so it's not exactly the pinnacle of safety. Plus, this thing moves a whole lot faster than a normal Corolla, therefore meaning that the impact with the wilderness may be far more enthusiastic, so the safety can be a concern. But to take you through what safety features that you can expect, look, it's the Blademaster G, guys. I think it's only appropriate that we do this next voiceover in like a 90s hip-hop style.
Anti-lock brakes, we're staying alive. Smooth, soft power, never gonna dive. Got a sudden spur, but we're staying in live. Stability control, we're doing just fine. No oversteer, no understeer. We're the kings of the road, never gonna fear. Front and side airbags and brake assist. We ride so slick, we're never gonna trip.
And again, for the full breakdown of all the tech, the features, all the safety equipment, jump on ReDriven.com, check out that cheat sheet. It has everything you're going to need to know. So when it comes to what these are like to drive, I, like you, had many questions. So let's answer them.
Is it fast?
Yes, it is. Not in that same kind of current Volkswagen Golf R, just pin you to the back of the seat kind of levels of fast, but very impressive. But here's the thing. The torque is arguably more impressive than the power. Like, yes, turbocharged engines, they have torque as well, but they generally have like a big kind of mid-range torque kind of hump. This has this kind of almost, it feels like a big block Corolla. It's like muscular torque, and it's delivered in like a real linear fashion. So it just encourages you to want to rev it out more. Basically, look, it is more than fast enough around town, and when you do flex that right foot, it is so enjoyable.
But doesn't it torque steer?
Well, no, not really. See, the thing is, I think we're used to fast hatchbacks and fast small cars being turbocharged, and the faster they are, the more boost they run, and therefore, that's when you get that torque steer, when that muscular piece of boost and torque comes in. But in this, again, because it's so linear, it doesn't really torque steer. There is a hint of torque steer, but yeah, it's not too bad.
But it only comes as an auto. Does that suck?
Yeah, just a little bit. Like, this as a manual would be a phenomenal thing. It's a little bit of a letdown. In fact, the Series 1 Blademasters do have a few complaints that the gearbox software is pretty underwhelming. But the good news is, on Series 2 Blademasters, they had an update to their software for the transmission, which means that you get rev matching, quicker shifting, and it'll hold gears. Look, even with that software update, it still doesn't offer, you know, modern kind of dual clutch or even current automatic levels of response, but yeah, it does the job.
But a V6 in a small car, it must understeer like crazy.
Well, again, no, not really. Like, obviously, if you enter a corner way too fast or push too hard past the car's limits, yes, it will understeer, but So will most modern cars. The trick to kind of remedy any understeer is just adjust your driving style, like your line into the corner and where you're braking and accelerating to suit the car, and just use all of that lovely torque to rip you out of the corner. Plus, fitting a seriously good set of tyres and this TRD suspension, that certainly helps. Also, I had sort of assumed that the steering would feel a bit crap because there's so much weight over the front wheels of the car, but it doesn't. It feels really sorted. Not like Lotus Elise levels of sorted, but just, it feels right for what the car's supposed to be. But in saying all of that, if you're driving to a point where you can really tell huge amounts of understeer and you're unbalanced in the car in general, and you're on a public road, well, you're a dickhead. You shouldn't be driving like that on public roads. Leave that sort of stuff for the track.
Does the V6 sound good, or does it just sound like a Camry?
Nope. This one sounds great. And also, there are hardly any like rattles or creaks or squeaks in here. This thing just feels sorted.
So is it a proper driver's car or just a cruiser?
It's kind of both. Like, it's not some hyperactive driver-focused hot hatch like a Civic Type R, but at the same time, when you do want to have some proper fun in it, it really does respond. But then if you want to go on like just a long country drive or potter around town, it soaks up kilometres so easily. And when it's doing both of those things and everything in between, like driving around Sydney in traffic, it just feels like unique all of the time. Look, overall, it's quirky, it's unique, and it's talented in the most wonderful ways. Now, as far as pricing goes, look, the value for money with these things, it's hugely subjective, because on one side of the equation, you could argue that this is a lot of money for what is just a noughties Toyota hatchback. But at the other end of the spectrum, it's amazing value for what is an incredibly unique and seriously impressive thing. But to put things into perspective, other six-cylinder hatchbacks of a similar kind of era, like the Alfa Romeo 147 GTA or the Volkswagen Golf R32, they ask a premium over this, but both of those cars come with quite a few reliability concerns. This being a Toyota, as we're about to show you, kind of sort of doesn't. Look, I think great value for money. Now, before we get into what goes wrong with these, firstly, a massive thank you to Shannon, who's standing just over there, for lending us his car, and also to everyone in the Toyota Blademaster and Blademaster G owners groups and forums. Without your support and help, guys, we couldn't make these videos. Thanks, Shannon. Okay, so what goes wrong with these? Well, in terms of the exterior, nothing really. Even with the Corolla that this is based on, nothing really goes wrong with them. There are, like, you know, the odd sporadic reports here and there of bits and pieces of things, but, you know, they're getting old, but they're not common problems as such. Although, one thing that we do need to mention, while this does share a whole bunch of components with, you know, more locally available Toyotas, therefore the parts should be relatively easy and affordable to get, a lot of the body panels are exclusive to the Blademaster G. So if you were to have an accident or maybe hit a wombat, accessing parts can take a long time and therefore can become expensive. Also, we are talking kind of a performance car of sorts here, and like any used performance car, or really any used car, there's a whole bunch of things that you really do need to check out before you hand over your cash. So make sure you watch our Ultimate Used Car Buyer's Guide before you buy one of these, because it could save you thousands. Now inside, it's pretty much the same story. Nothing really goes wrong in here. There have been some reports of faulty cruise control with the Corollas that these are based on, but we couldn't find any reports of that with the Blademaster. So overall, it's, you know, kind of typical Japanese manufacturing and engineering in here. Nothing really goes wrong. Now guys, if you're enjoying this video and our content in general, can you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and maybe share our content as well? Because just doing those simple things, honestly, it helps us out so much, and we appreciate it more than you know. Okay, now mechanically, what goes wrong with the Blademaster G? Well, I can't tell you because I'm not a qualified mechanic, but Jim is.
Look, there's not really a lot of these around outside of Japan, so getting good, accurate statistics on how reliable they are isn't really easy. But it is very safe to say it's extremely likely to be as good as the sum of its parts. By that, what I mean is the V6 petrol that's in these, that's the 2GRFE, well, that's in a ton of other cars too. It's in the Toyota Orion, it's in the Lexus ES and the RX 350s, and it's also in the Lotus Evora. In all of those applications, it's considered to be extremely reliable. In fact, statistically, one of the most reliable petrol V6s ever. The transmission too, it's lifted from a Toyota Orion, so you're very unlikely to have any problems with that. And overall, because the engine and transmission are out of bigger, heavier Toyota models, they're doing way less work in one of these. So you're really very unlikely to have any problems.
Yes, yes you should. In fact, more people should be buying these if you can find a good one. But they do come with a warning. The Blademaster G is a grey import only, and while many grey importers are completely honest, there are some dodgy operators out there. And we know of circumstances where original odometers have been swapped out for odometers showing lower kilometres, service records and histories have been doctored, and some cars are simply not in the condition that they're being advertised in. Look, obviously this isn't exclusive to the Blademaster G, that goes for all grey imports, but it is absolutely critical that you have a pre-purchase inspection carried out before you buy one of these. So look, overall, should you buy one? Yes, absolutely you should, but only if it's near perfect like this or if it ticks all of the boxes. If you do that and you do buy one, congratulations, you're officially a car person. So guys, a couple of questions for you. Is this thing as cool as I think it is? And like, would you buy one? Let us know in the comments. See you next time. Track-focused, driver-oriented. Now, calling it a V6 Corolla, or if you're watching this from Europe, a V6. Look, yes, absolutely.